games. Three hours. And one emotionally unstable retired speedrunner.
I missed! Oh wait, that's me. Hi, I'm Danny, or you might know me better as Danny Dies a Lot here on YouTube. I make Resident Evil and Dead Island gaming challenges, and whilst they've all been pretty difficult, I wanted more. So I came up with today's dumpster fire of a video, in which I'll be attempting to beat Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4 in under 3 hours. Is it possible? Or will I fail miserably and have this whole video be some kind of humiliation ritual? Well, stay tuned to find out! So we start the clock and begin the challenge playing as Claire in the A scenario. And as you can imagine, the goal of this run is to be super fast, so there's a few things you'll see me doing a lot during this run. The first is constantly being in caution health because Claire actually runs a little faster, and 2 is quickly aiming when going upstairs. It's kind of like stair skating. And to get into caution health, I let this armless zombie bite me a few times while shooting away some ammo. Shooting the floor does a few things. I'm freeing up inventory space and lowering my DA. DA in this game refers to difficulty adjustment, so if you take damage or miss shots, it'll end up lowering. In the RPD, we make quick work with the ambush by hugging the lockers here on the right to avoid damage. We also pick up the trusty knife, which is vital in this run, and head for the spade key. On the way, I stun this zombie by giving him a quick shot to the head, pick up the key, and take a shortcut on the way back to the main hall. Luckily, good old Eleanor here didn't grab me when I fell through the floor, or you might know her better as the zombie with the atrocious Karen cut. So I bypassed her, grabbed the lion medallion, bolt cutters, valve, and fuse. The next section can be kinda tricky, but you can actually run past the first zombie coming through the window, and the second one if you hug the wall on the right. The third one is really annoying, especially if he's in the hallway, but luckily I had amazing RNG here and just was able to run right behind him. Next, we run into the liquor. And usually they wouldn't be a huge problem because you're walking and they don't aggro to you, but we have a need for speed here. I need to go super fast. So right after grabbing the battery, I run back out the door and flip my camera to look at the liquor as I run away. This little trick actually makes the liquor super duper shy and he lets us get by. Then I stun Eleanor, giving me time to move the bookshelf over once so my life will be a little easier in the second section of the RPD. And then we head up to blow up the wall to grab the third medallion, but before it detonates I make sure to quickly leave the room so the bookshelf doesn't fall over. And to avoid this liquor, you just have to run sideways against the wall. And now we're faced with Birkin's first form. And luckily all we need is a few knives. In the first part of the fight, I make sure to slash his face and arm while hugging the side of his body holding the pipe. In the second phase, I hug the same arm, staying slightly behind him, trying to slash his eye and head. And just like that, Birkin is already done in 26 seconds. And now we head into a very scary section, a room of liquors, and we need to run. The way through is pretty consistent if you just hug the wall while going down the stairs. It's the way back that literally sends me into cardiac arrest. So to get by them, when I go back into the room, I'm going to stare at the floor, and then when I get to the stairs, I turn my camera to use the same trick as before against the liquors. But when I exit the room, because we were running, the liquor in the hall is going to be aggroed. So I aim my gun at the wall, and then I start running as soon as I hear him jump off the ceiling. Now we start the second part of the RPD, and on our way to get electrical part A, the zombie can be stunned with a shot to the head, giving us enough time to quickly grab it and leave the room, and then also grab the large gear. And then we meet the lovely tyrant Mr. X, who can be easily dodged if you just bait out a punch. And after juking him, we head into the most cursed hallway with zombies and liquors. The zombies are usually out of the way, but the liquor will tear you a new So I dodge him by zigzagging and then grabbing the tool. But before going into the library with the tool, I make sure to shoot the floor to try and lure the zombies towards the sound of the shot and not me moving the bookcases. I then grab the second electrical part and dodge the 2 zombies in the hallway, and then this zombie can always be dodged if you just run by hugging the right wall. And just like that, we are finished with the RPD. After Sherry's section, we see the tyrant again and bait out a punch so it gives us enough time to get out of the garage. And the dogs can be avoided if you're not looking at them, and the zombie in the bus can be run past with a quick shot to the head. In the sewers, I get past the room of zombies by dodging the first one and stunning the second one. Next, we grab the T-tool and throw a grenade at the zombies at the bottom of the stairs. I then grab another grenade and dodge the first G-adult by hugging the garbage. In the workroom, I loot the plug and immediately run back in the room to avoid getting grabbed by the zombie getting up. And this usually doesn't happen, but for me the Geodalt was still in the water, so I shot him quickly to make him go underwater, letting me pass by. Now the next section with the 3 Geodalts sucks really hard, and usually if one thing goes wrong, everything goes wrong. So to get past the first one, you just have to shoot it to bait it out of the water and then run past it as it's emerging. And the 2 others can be ran past, but sometimes the second one is such a dick and grabs you, but luckily I got lucky. I then stun the zombie, grab the spark shot, and make my way to face Birkin for the second time. As soon as the fight starts, I throw a grenade at the door and fire a few shots to his hand to quickly make him break down the door. As he does, I get ready and fire 2 spark shot rounds to his eye and then run to the platform. There, I immediately hit the button to send the crane away and flash him. While he's stunned, I shoot the back of his eye again, bringing him down. Then, I whip out my trusty old knife again and start to knife him. I then hit the button to bring back the crane and flash him so he stays in the trajectory, and that is G2 taken care of in under 2 minutes. Now we're in the final stretch here in the lab, and to start I pick up the grenade launcher because it spawns here if you don't end up picking it up in the RPD, the grenade, spark shot ammo, and an upgrade for the wristband. I run past the IVs, grab the white powder, flash grenade, and cartridge. Then I make some acid rounds, pick up another grenade, and head for the basement. I kill all the zombies with my flame rounds and shoot the liquor before running up the stairs to grab the signal modulator. On the way back, I throw a flash grenade to stun the zombies on the stairs and shoot the liquors before getting to the freezer. Then I grab the wristband and had amazing RNG leaving, only having to use 1 acid round on the IVs. Now we're headed to G3, my favorite boss in the game. You start the fight by shooting all of his eyes with the spark shot, starting with his leg, then shoulder, and then back. While he's down, I make sure to pick up the spark shot ammo before shooting him in the chest. I then run to the other corner of the little cubby I'm in, pick up the grenade as he gets up, and try to bait out a jump attack. And luckily he does, so I run out of the way and shoot his back eye, followed by his leg, quickly stun him with an acid round, and shoot his final eye on his shoulder with a spark shot. And just like that, he's down again, so I run right behind him and knife him so that I'm hitting both of his arms and his back at once. I then slowly begin to move forward and then finish him off with a final spark shot round to the chest and a grenade. And that's G3 done in just over a minute. On the way to the final boss, I end up getting rid of all of my ammo to lower my DA slightly, saving a bullet for the lone zombie in the hallway. And after picking up the minigun, we start G4. When the fight starts, I run back just slightly and begin shooting all of his eyes with the gun. When he jumps down, I continue to shoot him and sneak in a few knife slashes, and then he'll always do this attack, but it's easily dodged. And as he is just hitting nothing here, I get my grenade ready and continue to shoot him, dodging his charge attack. Immediately after he starts to climb up, I toss my grenade, knocking him to the ground. And while he's on his back, I end up slashing his eyes a few times and then equip my grenade for when he recovers. I then throw my grenade and get my other one ready for his eyes to reappear. Once they do, I throw a second one, dodge his attack, and finish him off with a few more shots to his eyes. And that's RE2 Claire A done in 55 minutes and 34 seconds, which leaves me with just over 2 hours for RE3 and RE4. Speaking of, this brings me to the bane of my existence, RE3 Remake. It's the run I'm the most unfamiliar with, and it shows, so brace yourselves. And so, we quickly make our way through the intro, dodging zombies at the elevator, and having an intense stare down with Nemesis.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
In the city, I dodge zombies that ambush me from the fence and shoot the barrel so they won't be a hassle later on. I also shoot the barrel outside the donut shop and dodge zombies on the way to the hose. I grab a grenade from the locker and make my way back to put out the fire. I then grab the bolt cutters and watch Nikolai disappear and head to the drain demos. After being absolutely violated, I use an herb and run with the camera facing backwards so I can see if they're coming at me from behind. I power up the first circuit and quickly climb the ladder. I power the second circuit, dodge this drain demo, and shoot the electrical thingy to get rid of any enemies in my area, but got memed by this guy. After powering up the substation, we head back to the office, but end up encountering Nemesis. And usually Jill would get stunned here when he breaks through the wall, but quickly aiming will cancel that out. I then shoot the electrical box to stun Nemesis when he starts to run from behind us, and because I'm so fast, I didn't have to dodge the lady zombie by the stairs. After Nemesis reappears, I run with the camera looking back at him so I can see him. And as he runs, I try to shoot the box, but the game is weird with shooting and moving, so I bugged out and tried to dodge him, but ended up getting hit. I then dodged some zombies and powered up the subway, but on the way back a tentacle zombie appears, and to dodge him, I move towards him to bait an attack and quickly dodge towards the door. And after the cutscene of Nemesis doing whatever this is, I shoot the electrical box to stun him and the tentacle zombie, and then run away with the camera facing down to prevent him from jumping in front of the gated door. But I ended up taking a few bites along the way. In the sewers, I pick up a grenade and get past the Hunter Gammas by dodging their attacks. I pick up the battery pack and make my way past the Hunter Gammas again and upstairs after unlocking the door. On the way out of the sewers, we're attacked by Nemesis again, and I immediately run to the building preparing for the boss fight. Once we reach the rooftop, the fight starts, and I immediately start shooting all of my rounds into his flame pack and then throw a grenade followed by a single shot to the chest, bringing an end to his first phase. As he's down, I ready a second grenade toss, throwing it just after he recovers, and that's Nemi 1 done and dusted in under a minute. After the fight, I make sure to grab the shotgun attachment from Kendo's before grabbing the key and making my way to the alley. I ended up poorly dodging this tentacle dude, but could not be bothered to reset, so I continued on my way to the rocket launcher Nemesis. The rockets are pretty easily dodged, so after I run through the Charlie doll section, I look down again, preventing Nemesis from jumping in front of me, and I meet up with Carlos and begin the dreaded section of the RPD. And I'm not gonna lie, I ended up messing the first section up pretty horribly, so I decided to reload my checkpoint, but Tyrell just decided to not join me. And I tried reloading, I tried progressing, nothing worked, he just didn't want to move, he was frozen. So I ended up having to restart the run and revoked his Master of Unlocking card because what the fuck, Tyrell? Luckily I ended up getting back to the spot with a better time than before, so I guess it wasn't all that bad, but I did make sure to make a safety save inside the RPD, just in case. And now as Carlos, I decided to kill all the zombies in the hall because I cannot get through without getting absolutely ruined. So I grabbed the key, killed this zombie, sneak past some liquors, and grabbed the battery, making my way up to the detonator. After the explosion, I used a flash grenade and brute force to make my way to the STARS office. And just like that, Carlos' section is already done, and we're back to playing as Jill and headed to the Nemesis dogfight. So I make sure to grab the shotgun and grenade launcher because they both spawn here if you don't grab them prior. And as soon as the fight starts, I make sure to fire a flame round as he stands up so that he exposes his weak point, and I unload my shotgun on it. Once he recovers, I fire another flame round and run to pick up more shotgun shells, dodging his charge attack on the way. And then with another flame round and a few shotgun shells, he'll enter phase 2. So I immediately load the mine rounds into the grenade launcher and plant one on the bus. Then I quickly change back to the flame rounds, which can be done if you switch weapons right after the input. And after Nemesis is knocked down from the mine round, I shoot his weak spot with a shotgun and flame him, bringing him into phase 3, which is basically where I repeat the steps of phase 2. And with a few more shots, Nemesis 2 is done, and I'm not the best at this fight or run in general, so it took a little longer than I would have liked. Now we're back as Carlos in the hospital, and the first part's pretty easy. I just punch the zombie, grab the key card, and flash grenade. The first hunter can be easily bypassed if you just stare at the ceiling while leaving the room, and in the room with the 2 hunters, I make sure to punch the first one while throwing a flash grenade. I grab the recording device, and then throw a second flash grenade to leave. I then quickly punch this zombie here to avoid the whole horde behind the glass and give Jill the vaccine. And the next section isn't much to talk about, I just kill the enemies coming in, and as soon as the power goes out, I run in and grab their grenades, using one on the first hunter and keeping one for the second one that jumps through the window. Back as Jill, I make sure to pick up the burst pistol and head for Nest. I grab the first fuse, climb down the ladder, and dodge the zombie before raising the lift. I dodge my way to the second fuse and to the ladder to avoid the Hunter Gamma. I end up shooting a mine round to clear away through the enemies and dodge the hunter to grab the last fuse. I shoot an explosive round at the tentacle heads waking up and meet up with Tyrell, which unfortunately is not long lasting. R.I.P. Tyrell. In Nest, I grab some gunpowder to make shotgun shells and the USB. I grab some acid rounds and make my way up to the elevator to the most cursed room in the game. I had a ton of resets and deaths here that I crashed out a few times. So this is my best attempt, and it's not even that good. I start by grabbing the powder and then firing an explosive round to clear a path to enter the room, but I end up taking a few hits before escaping and dealing with the hunters. I shoot a palehead with the shotgun to get by and synthesize the vaccine. And now we face Nemesis 3, which is very similar to Nemesis 2 except she just jumps on these electrical things. I flame him and shoot him with a shotgun, and I also make sure to dodge his attacks and the enemies spawning in from the sides. This fight actually went really well and didn't take me much time at all, and ended pretty quickly. And just like that, we're on the way to the final boss. When it starts, I immediately shoot him with the ray gun, I shoot all of his weak spots and turn on the 2 power sources on the left. And then after he recovers, I just rinse and repeat and turn on the final power source on the left. This fight is actually really easy on standard, especially compared to Inferno. And now all we have to do is just shoot Nicola. Oh my god. You're kidding.
You missed! How could you miss? He was 3 feet in front of you!
I'm only kidding, and we end up finishing the run in 1 hour and 2 minutes and 6 seconds, which leaves us with just over an hour to beat Resident Evil 4 Separate Ways. But Separate Ways is actually different from Resident Evil 2 and 3 because reloading a checkpoint doesn't reset the timer, so I'll have to complete the entire game in a single segment. I start Separate Ways by grabbing an herb and running straight to the first fight against the Black Robe. The fight is done quickly by throwing a grenade and emptying an entire clip of the TMP into its face. While it enters phase 2, I loot the ammo in the cupboard and empty another clip to its face and finish it off with the pistol. And I'm also making sure to loot as much as I can without going too much out of the way, but making sure to grab the flash on the right. And in chapter 2 we have our first glitch and out of bounds, whatever you want to call it, of the run. So after running past all the enemies here, you have to crouch with your back to the wire and disarm it in this position. And after disarming it, Ada should fall out of bounds and you'll be able to skip the brute breaking down the door and the cabin. When you get to the rocks here, you'll have to knife your way through a few invisible walls and then you'll come out to the bridge. And then after the bridge, the enemies just don't end up spawning here, so it's a lot easier to get by. I'm also looting as much as I can here, and I'll explain why later, and then I also shoot all the blue medallions. I run past the enemies at the church, grab a few more things, and then make my way to the merchant. But before talking to him, I make sure to loot a first aid spray from inside and the 2 barrels outside, touch the typewriter, and use my spinels to purchase 4 velvet blues. I sell all 4 and buy a first aid spray, leaving me with 3 in total. I then open my inventory and send 2 of 3 of them to storage. I then go back to the merchant and start the second glitch of the run. And I'm not 100% sure how this works, but after some online digging, I've seen some people say you have to have at least 17 items in your inventory, which is why I did so much looting in the beginning. And you also need to touch the typewriter. And for this to work properly, the storage sprays need to appear above the one in your inventory. And once that's all set up, you select all to sell, open your inventory, close your inventory, and then all first aid sprays should be stacked into one pile instead of having them both selected. I continued the glitch until I can afford an upgrade for the case and a rocket launcher. And with the rocket launcher now on hand, the fight against the Black Robe is done within seconds, and we end the chapter at the Big Cheese's mansion. In chapter 3, after escaping Mendez, I buy another first aid spray from the merchant, touch the typewriter, and do the glitch for a second time, but this time until I have 700,000 pesetas. From there, I buy a rocket launcher, a large resource, the shotgun and its upgrades, and the striker charm. I run past the enemies and find Luis's frequency, activating the double chainsaw. I parry the Ganado on the stairs and then run straight for the crossbow, sending it to storage for later. And after that, I just barely have enough time to turn the valve before getting chainsawed by the Bella sister. Back in the village, I loot some barrels, the grenade, and run through the farm, going straight to El Gigante, who again is taken out by a rocket, which is a common theme in Separate Ways, so if that pisses you off, I'm sorry. In chapter 4, I follow closely behind Luis, crouching for a few seconds here so he draws the attention of the zealots. That way, I can run down the stairs past them and trigger the cutscene at the bottom of the stairs. On the way to the bindery, I kill the zealot by the stairs, grab a tile, and buy a rocket launcher from the merchant. I then kill the second zealot, grab the second tile, and the ink. And after acquiring the red lantern, I make sure to have a few flash grenades ready for the battle against the knights. After grabbing the silver bottle, the knights will be activated, but the first one can be bypassed by shooting its plaga, stunning it, and giving us time to get by. After grabbing the gold bottle, both knights on either side will activate, but I make quick work of them by shooting them with my shotgun, kicking them to reveal their plaga, and finishing them both off with a flash grenade. The second knight I kill with a shotgun and TMP, and the last 3 with a flash grenade. Now in the maze, I grab the flash before using the grapple gun to bring me to the red zealot. There I flash him and kill him with 3 shotgun shells to the face and grab the moonstone. After putting the moonstone in the door, I pick up the blue butterfly and bring chapter 4 to an end. In chapter 5, I start off by killing the zealot blocking the switch and run past the other 2, jumping down to the waterways. Once I get to the gate, I throw a grenade between the 2 bars here that breaks the lock on the door. This way I can run straight to the wheel and lower the water levels. And right after I get a checkpoint, I make sure to reload so that all of the enemies end up despawning. I make my way to the Garrador and he's easily taken out by my rocket once again. Now we're going into the final fight against the Black Robe, but before I make sure to visit the merchant to fully upgrade the shotgun, buy another rocket, and the Illuminados emblem charm. When the fight starts, I make sure to evade and parry all of its attacks before blasting it in the face with my shotgun, and when it stuns, I make sure to reload first before performing a melee attack. Usually you would just use the shotgun to do this fight, but I ended up running out of ammo, so I just finished it off with the TMP. And before starting phase 2, I make sure to equip my rocket, so that way when it starts, I can instantly shoot it before it submerges underground. And after the fight, I grab a few flash grenades and bypass the enemies before arriving at the smasher things. But I run through with ease, parrying an arrow with a knife, and on the way out, I stun an enemy with a TMP and grab the boat key to finish the chapter. In Chapter 6, I run past all the enemies and flash them before taking out the 2 enemies coming up on the lift. In the Wrecking Ball area, I stun most of the enemies with my TMP and flash, and I end up using the bolt thrower on the brute with the machine gun. Bolt thrower. In the facility, I stun the enemies waiting to ambush me and run past the regenerator, heading towards the battery. After grabbing the battery, I stun the parasite, dodge the regenerator and Iron Maiden, and pass the gondola section. This brings us to the defensive line, which normally sucks, but the speedrun strat is actually pretty easy. So here I'm just bypassing the turrets and running straight for the grapple area, where I then dodge an attack and shoot the explosive barrel to give me some time. I then shoot the turret with my blast arrow and load another one, waiting for the enemy with the baseball bat. Once he starts attacking me, I make sure to evade out of the way, and then I shoot a blast arrow behind him to catapult him into the line of fire, giving me an opening to run through. In the lab, the only time safe we're showing is just if you throw a grenade at the wall, it'll just let you skip past most of the chase section. So I ended up skipping the rest. Which brings us to the final chapter in Chapter 7, and boy, were things getting tight. So I head straight to the merchant, sell the shotgun, buy some resources and a rocket, and stun the enemies with the TMP. I then run to the back of the area so that the lift will lower with the 2 enemies and brutes. I loop around and sneak back onto the lift, but get joined by this little guy. He ended up being cool, but despawned, so. I run past the enemies and finish the Saddler fight with a rocket launcher. In this dreaded final section, I use the TMP to run by the enemies and make my way to the rocket. On the crane, I flash the Nuvisa doors and take down Saddler's eye with 2 blast arrows and then grapple to the platform. There, I flash the enemies a few times while getting 2 more blast arrows to Saddler's eye. I wait for the brute to start to attack me so he runs out of the way of the elevator, and then I flash him to escape. And on the elevator, we're pretty much done the game, and we finish separate ways in an hour and 1 minute and 33 seconds, with 47 seconds to spare in the challenge. Boy, was that ever a close call. Anyways, thank you all so much for making it this far in this week's video. If you enjoyed yourselves, make sure you like and subscribe. I make challenges like this all the time on YouTube. And until the next one, see ya!